Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Private Developer Coding Stream. I'm Bridget. I do gameplay programming for Mina. I don't have my camera turned on, so you're just going to imagine me sitting here. Here I am. Yeah, so I do programming for Mina. Today we're going to do some enemy programming, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I have another guest here. So, Michael, you want to introduce yourself?
I suppose so. Howdy, I'm Michael. I'm the producer working with Bridget, and I'll be quietly monitoring chat in the background while Bridget makes some cool stuff today.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Thanks everybody for jumping in. Oh man, sorry, I'm looking at Discord too. There's a lot going on. Okay, so today we're going to be doing some enemy programming. Right now we're working on an area of the game called the Astral Orrery. It's kind of the bonus area that we mentioned during the Kickstarter that is kind of like space and time themed. And so because we're starting work on this level, this is the time in the process where a lot of the objects and enemies get implemented for this level. And so the one that we're talking about today is the summoner and minions. So I've got this bug open on my desktop, and it's got some information about these enemies. If we come over here to the GDD, actually, hold on, I'm just double checking. I hope all the audio sounds fine. It seems like nobody's mentioned the audio, so I'm guessing it's cool. Okay, so
Sounds
but
good to
yeah,
go.
let us know if anything kind of goes weird. So these enemies are kind of a pair. Um, there's this, like, if we look over here, Sandy has made these cool sprites. These enemies kind of come as a pair together. So the summoner is this guy with like this big floating head that like has a couple different attacks. So there's like different kinds of summoners. One summons a projectile, one of them does a projectile and a black hole, one of them does like a black hole and a projectile and a minion. So if we scroll down, here's the other half is the minions. Minions are another kind of enemy. Here's like Sandy's mock-up for that. These minion guys are what we're actually going to be working on today. They're these kind of blobby experiment creatures that run around and then dive at the player. So here's a mock-up of that. They also have this property that if some of them are connected together, if some of them are like close by, they have this this like electric tether connecting them. So even if they're not that smart individually, they have this tether connecting them that is damaging to the player, so you might get bumped by it. But so we're going to be working on this minion guy today, this green blobby dude. And so if we look over at the GDD, this is a whole write-up all about how the minion works. And so at this point, it's my job. I've got all these assets from Sandy. I've got like a bunch of descriptions about how this guy should work. And so it's my job to go through and actually implement it so that it works in the game. So let's just kind of read through for a minute what this guy is supposed to do, and then we can go through and start making it happen over the next couple hours. So the minion is a guy who kind of wanders around the room and stops intermittently. Its aggro range is small, meaning like the player has to get within about 4 tiles in order for the enemy to notice the player. The movement doesn't really have to be aggressive. It's not trying to walk into the player necessarily. Most of the danger is going to come from that electric tether anyway. And then once the minion does notice the player, it's gonna start to do a different behavior. So if we read up here, once aggroed, the minion starts walking toward the player quickly and then slide tackles in the player's direction. So like they're going to run, they're going to do like a little hop and then slide toward the player, and then they're going to decelerate to a stop during the last tile of that movement. There's also a note in the case that, if the minion runs into a pit or a wall, they should stop. So like this minion shouldn't be able to like slide directly into a pit. It's got to be smarter than that. Altogether, it should slide about 4.5 tiles of distance. And then the minion loses aggro after a shorter duration, meaning that once it's noticed the player and attacked the player, it's not gonna kind of keep pursuing the player for that long. It has a short memory of being like acting aggressively toward the player. So, and there's also a note here that if he kind of forgets about the player, that's okay, because there's this like electric tether that we're going to talk about that connects them all. So um, the electric tether is also part of what makes them dangerous. If we look at the electric tether, it's this line that connects one minion to like the closest neighbor. So they're made of modular lightning pieces, meaning that it's not one big asset. It's like it's like a bunch of little pieces of lightning that are kind of strung up together in a line. As the minions move around, so do the tethers between them. If you touch the line, you can take damage. But you can burrow under or jump over the line. And there's a couple rules in here about how many tethers can be between the minions, so it's not like a complete spider web. There's just going to be like a few tethers. I don't know if we'll get all the way to the tether part, but just wanted to mention it kind of briefly so you can see like overall what the goal would be for this enemy. There's also a note in here that they can like be placed as regular enemies. They can have like a special surprise spawn where they kind of burst from this kind of lab tube. And then there's also there's a note up here that we have this type of summoner that can also summon a minion. I don't think we're going to get to that today, but that's like a third option for how they can get spawned. So we've just got this big description of all the aspects of the enemy that we have to think about. And so now, this was written up by one of our level folks. I think probably Alec probably wrote this up. And then it's kind of gone through the process where, David reviewed it. And once it was all reviewed and it looks like it's ready to go, Sandy put together all these cool assets and mock-ups, which we're going to look through. He's also written a bunch of notes about, all the different assets, the ways to use them, other notes just about like visual preferences. So we've just got all this information and we're gonna use it to start to put this guy together. That's the big plan. If anybody has any questions in Discord, I think Michael's hanging out in there. I think Sandy's hanging out in there.
Yeah,
Sean is hanging out in there. Yeah.
Sean and Sandy have been answering some of the general
Yeah.
questions that have been coming up. But if anything directed towards you comes up, Bridget, I'll make sure to
Cool.
chime in and
And I think, Sean is sitting here in Discord too. Hi, Sean. Do you want to say hi? Are you audible? I don't
Hey,
think I. Oh, there we
hello.
go.
Hey, how's it going? I was muted.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just chilling and hanging out here. Or maybe I'll ask you some leading questions about the
Okay.
dev process as you're working.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of settle in, and I can talk about the process as we go. It's a cozy day today. It's raining. I got my yacht club slippers on. I got my like peppermint tea. I've got like a cozy view outside. It's gonna be a pretty chill time. So ahead of time, I've downloaded this mock-up that Sandy made of how this guy should behave. Here it is. We can just play it like as many times as we want in our handy dandy GIF tool, screen to GIF. There he goes. So the plan is to kind of step through this mock-up and see the ways that Sandy's kind of set this guy up. At the same time, we've got Cutter open. Cutter is our tool that we use to go through all the different frames of animation. So I've got, every frame of like this guy walking, kind of running, doing the dive, and standing back up is represented here in Cutter. So if we kind of scroll through, here, let's go back to the start. We'll let him reset. Here he is. Okay, so right now he's doing his idle behavior. Oh no, hold on, right here. Oh no, I guess it's towards the end. Hold on. Sorry, I'm getting confused by my GIF. Okay, so towards the end of the GIF, this is where he's kind of like, he's just kind of hanging out. And when he is hanging out, we call that an idle animation. So if we go over here, we can play it in Cutter. And these two match, so that's his idle. The GIF also starts with this behavior where he's like walking. So I think we have a walk here somewhere. Yeah, so we've got like a walk animation that Sandy's made, which we can play in Cutter. So Sandy's set up like this whole file already ready to go, which we're able to edit if we want, but it's really got pretty much everything that we need. So here he is walking. We're gonna need that. And then here's the part where like he's noticing the player and he goes kind of faster. So there's also like a run animation. Here he is running. There's also this moment where he jumps toward the player. So we've got this dive frame. You'll notice also that we've got like other versions of the sprite in here. So, we have a tab called dive, but we also have another couple tabs called dive U. So like this is the one we can play if he's diving upward. This is the dive we can play if he's diving downward. Once he is done with the dive, when he makes contact with the ground again, he starts to do this slide frame, which is pretty similar to the dive, except now he's kind of more flat against the ground. So I think there's a slide. So here's that slide frame. And then when he comes to a stop, it plays this dive recover frame where he's like starting to stand back up. And then we transition back to idle. So if we play it one more time all the way through, we've kind of got an idea of, all the different animations that we're using to actually make this behavior how we want it to look in game. So, keeping in mind the different animations and the different parts of the behavior, now I'm going to go through and start to put it together in code. So I've got like another view for stream of like this view right now is like my entire desktop. I also have some tabs open in Visual Studio where like this is actually where I do programming. And sometimes it's like a little difficult to see what's going on. Like the text can be pretty small. So I've also got this version that's like kind of zoomed in. So I might alternate between these two guys. But yeah, we're basically just gonna start going through and actually making this guy's behavior work. So I'm gonna reference my GIF, and I've got the GDD, which is our game design document, kind of thinking about like the different things he's got to do. This is the section of the bug that kind of talks about like the different minion behaviors and the different anims that Sandy has made for us. So the first step is to kind of fill out the different states of our state machine. A state machine is a pretty popular tool in games programming to help us kind of categorize the different behaviors that this guy is going to have. It just kind of helps us organize the enemy's behaviors into distinct states of being, each with their own rules and like anims to play. So we'll kind of see more about how that works as we fill this out. But so based on the behaviors that I know this guy has to have and the GIF that Sandy's made us, I'm gonna kind of fill out the state machine. And the state machine is like the majority of the work we'll probably be doing. So here, if I boot up the game, all right, so I've already put this guy in my gym. Here he is. I've kind of put together like a boilerplate of just kind of basic code for now over in this file on the left. in this file on the right. Let me switch view. Boop. Okay, so yeah, I've put together like just the basics. He really doesn't do, he does like basically nothing. He's just gonna sit here. I can like just kill him. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that Mina is here. He knows nothing. He's just gonna stand here. He does have combat turned on him, so like if I attack him, he takes damage. If I bump into him, oh hold on, I have invulnerability set. If I bump into him, I take damage.
So Bridget, how much like setup ahead of time would you say? Like, how much time did you put into this to like get it to this point? Like, is the game all set up in such a way that this is kind of like automatically set up for an enemy?
Yeah, so a lot of it is already set up for an enemy. Let's here, I can kind of go through this. So if we look at I'm gonna just close this. Okay, so if we look at our file, this is our code file for the minion enemy, and we can see that like the minion enemy it has like part of it is an enemy component. Like the minion already knows that it's going to be an enemy because I set it up in this way. So if we go to this file already has a ton of information about it, like in it about what it means to be an enemy. So like this file has information about combat. And spawning and like taking damage and collision and shadows and animations. So a lot of the work is done for just the basics about what it means to be an enemy because it's kind of built into that enemy component. The rest of the behavior that's more specific to the minion is going to live in this file, and none of that, we haven't added any of that yet. This probably took about 30 minutes to set up, maybe less. This file is pretty empty. If we kind of minimize it, you can see that like, so all the functions that we're writing on the right-hand side pretty much match like all of the definitions that we have on the left-hand side. So like this file is pretty short. It's only like 100 lines. If we like scroll through a lot of these functions, they're basically empty. This guy doesn't really do much at all. Like pretty much all that I wrote yesterday was this line. Like that's pretty much it. This is all he's doing. So like if we play the game one more time, and maybe I can move this window in OBS kind of out of the way. So if we, the only behavior that he's doing right now is playing this anim, and that's all this line is. So this line is just saying like the animation that we've set up, we're just going to play that idle anim, which is this one. That's where this little name comes from. So anyway, the setup I think altogether to get this point has been pretty fast, and then the behavior, like the actual programming, the behavior that's more specific to this guy is the goal for today. So I'm gonna go through this GIF and like the anims and oops, I don't want this text file, and unpin this guy, and yeah, this like list of text stuff to make more states. So I've already got an idle state. Walk state comes from enemy component. So I'm gonna, we know that we're gonna want this guy to be able to run. That's a big part of it. Oops. So we're gonna just make a note for ourselves that running is gonna be part of his behavior, diving is part of his behavior, slide is part of his behavior. I'm just gonna kind of go down the list. I think that's pretty much it. So like each of these is gonna become a state. Like each of these is gonna be a behavior that we know the guy needs. Just organizing my windows. Let's also get this walk to work. So at different points, this guy needs to also walk. Boo. Okay, cool. So now he's playing like the walk animation. He thinks he's in the walk state. So let's actually give him some more information. I've set up like some boilerplate stuff too about like tethers. There's some basic tether stuff in here. It just works okay. I just set it up like just in case we get that far. Like we just kind of blow through everything too fast.
What are Bridget? What are tethers and how do they work?
Oh, sorry. So the tethers were another part of the GDD that we mentioned. If we switch to my entire desktop, the tethers were this part of the behavior where it's like this electric line that goes from one guy to another. I threw this in yesterday, like a basic version of it in case we don't get to it. But like these are just lines that connect two close minions to each other. I don't think we're gonna like necessarily get that far, but like if I run the game and then here, like over here in my gym, I've set up this guy. I've set up another guy over here to like do more testing with walls and pits. I also threw in these guys here. So like if I, oops,
Hey Bridget,
yeah.
how much like physics and vector math or like crazy math do you have to do in your in your normal day to day? They're
I
asking
don't.
in the chat.
Oh, I see. I don't think it's that crazy, but I'd say a lot of my day is vector math. We're going to be doing some of that today. Here, these are the tethers, real quick. I just like threw this in yesterday because I was afraid, like, what if we run out of time and I have nothing else? I didn't want to do the tethers on stream, so this is just like a basic, just like lightning line. We'll be doing some more vector stuff today. I'd say it's like at least 30 or 40% of my day, or at least it is right now with like the work that I've been doing more recently.
Like implementing math.
Yeah, math is like a big part of the day. We're actually gonna make a vector. So we're gonna give this guy like a walking direction. And I'm gonna do this.
Another question is, what is the different letters at the start of the variables all mean? Like m underscore state machine or a state idle.
Oh, those are just our like code. That's just part of the code formatting that we've all like agreed upon. K just means like a constant. M means like a member variable, meaning like it like the variable belongs to an object as opposed to being a variable that you just create like on the spot and then you throw away. So it's just a way for us to like know at a glance a little bit more about the context of the variable that we made. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna say, so I'm just gonna decide that I think this guy, based on kind of what we wrote about in the GDD, I think this guy should kind of alternate between walking and just idling, because that's what's written. Wanders around the field, stops intermittently. So we're gonna do that part first. So over in our idle state, we're gonna say, so we're gonna say if we've been idle, just kind of standing around for long enough, we're gonna transition to the walk state. And then once we're in walk, we're gonna play that walk anim, we're gonna move in this direction, and we're gonna say, this might be too fast. I always forget how fast these variables actually are. We're just gonna walk for like a second. Have to spell things right. Oops. Okay, oops, and I think, let's start in idle. We also like didn't initialize these variables, which is bad. Let's pause for a second. Ooh, that's going really fast. All right, let's try again. So he's just gonna stand around and then he's gonna walk for about a second. And he's gonna walk for about a second. Uh-oh. Don't leave me. Don't go. Yeah, he's not very smart. He's not facing the right way. He doesn't really care about the player at all. He's not very intelligent. Okay, let's keep going. We're also gonna set his facing, which is important. I don't know if he has an idle that's directional. Oh, he does. Okay, good. Okay, we've told him also that when he walks, he's got to set his facing. Well, that didn't work. Why didn't that work?
Chat saying that the text is a little blurry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me switch over here. Is it this? This should be like a little better. It's like more zoomed in. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's part
I
of,
think the
yeah,
zoom in view.
that's part of the problem with the setup is like there's so much text. Thanks for letting me know.
Sure.
He's just gonna walk around. He's like not really paying that much attention to where he's walking. And I think it would make sense for him to like, kind of like the gremlin, is to like walk a few different, like walk and kind of turn a couple times. Okay, so now we're gonna have him. He's gonna walk in a few different directions in a row. Uh-oh, he chose this. Okay, he just walked right into the wall. Yeah, he's not that smart. So I'm gonna have him, like if he bumps into the wall, I'm gonna have him turn, and I know I've like already done this. I've like already done this before. And I know that if he runs into a wall or a pit, he should probably turn around. So that's what we're gonna do. Because he keeps running into the wall, which we don't want. That doesn't help anybody. Like, you know, if he runs into a wall, he just kind of keeps walking into the wall, and that doesn't really help anything. He's also like, if you give him a minute, he'll probably also just walk straight into one of these pits. There he went. Like, he just knows nothing. So we gotta tell him not to do that. I'm also gonna... It's also useful when I'm writing this file to try to not have like any kind of magic values. Like when he's walking and I just put in the number 6, that 6 doesn't really tell anybody anything. But if I make a variable called walk speed, it's a lot more obvious to people at a glance what that 6 is for. And I change it to a 4 anyway. So now we've got a function here, and I know he needs to be similar to the gremlin, and I know I've like already done this. So I'm 100% gonna reuse all the stuff that I know already works because I've done this like 10 times for like every enemy I've ever worked on has to basically do this. So we're just gonna do like the same thing. We're just gonna steal this information from an enemy we already know it works that does this. We'll see if this works. Alright, it goes a little slower now. It's like a lot more reasonable. Yeah, so now if he like bumps into a wall, he knows to turn. If we set a breakpoint over here, boop. Okay, so we're in the state machine. We set a breakpoint, meaning like if our code hits this point, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop like mid-frame. So this physics function has said, you know, if we're walking and we bump into something that is, you know, hazardous like a pit or a wall, then we're gonna turn around. We're gonna flip the direction that we were going in. So there he goes. Boop. So now he's like a little bit smarter than before. He's not just gonna like keep walking straight into the wall. And I think this one might be better. Hopefully the text is more readable. Although I know it's like code, so whether or not it's like that readable is, you know, take it or leave it. Right. Spacing is looking better. Come back over here, sir. Come back. Okay, no, he just likes being over there. Okay, so in like a basic way, he just wanders around the field, stops intermittently, doesn't do much. We gotta. So the problem right now is like he's not really noticing the player at all, and that's what's next. So, here we go. What I'm trying to do right now is to see if he's already got a component on him that kind of detects where the player is. I can't tell if he does or not. Oh, I see. That's what I'm doing wrong. So. Okay, it's gonna completely break. But let's see. I don't know why his aggro is not working. I've just switched back to my entire desktop and I'm looking at this guy over here. We gotta make it so that he notices the player and he's not doing that. I don't know why. All right, so target is valid. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, do I need that? Oh, it's not gonna draw because I didn't tell it to draw. Whoever said my code was readable, thank you. You're very sweet. That didn't do it. Why can I not see it? Why are you being stupid? What I'm trying to do is like make it so that when he notices the player, he runs and does that dive. But he's like, and we have a debug option to draw the area around an enemy so you can like see aggro working, but it's not. I probably forgot something. Boop. What did I do over here? Oh, Gremlin doesn't care though. Just looking through some aggro stuff real quick. Yeah, I'm doing what I should be doing. Okay, what's going on? What's going on, sir? So just looking to see why this guy doesn't want to aggro. Oh, am I? Maybe aggro invisible. I hope not. No, I'm not. Go back. So what we're doing is we're just kind of stepping through this function to try to debug why this isn't drawing for us. Was it? No, it's not too big. We have a target pointing to the player. Already did this. This is fine. Sorry, I'm trying to focus for a second to see why this isn't working. Not pipe. Not aggro invisible. Detectable. That's so bizarre. Oh. No, it's me. It's always me. It's always me. Wait. Okay, hold on. Let's try again. There we go. Okay, it just draws it like sometimes. What is your deal, dude? Okay, it's just really, I guess it's just like really brief. Let's add it over here too. What doesn't he know? It's so weird. I'm right there. What did I do?
Hey, Bridget,
Yo,
are you focusing, or do you have time for a quick question from the chat?
well, I can have a question, although I have to debug this stupid thing. Yeah.
All right. One of the questions was, when you're working through things like movement, do you work off of like a standard checklist or anything like that when you're going through and coding enemies, or do you kind of have like a different list for every enemy?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Do you mean like how the movement feels? Well, I guess because
Did
it's
you ever
just,
work from
go ahead.
like through any sort of checklist when you're implementing stuff, or do you really have to just like read the spec and kind of interpret that to the best of your ability?
Part of it is reading the spec, and part of it is just like a mental checklist that I've built up after working on like, I don't know, 10, 20 enemies. Uh, it's a big mental checklist. I haven't like made a physical checklist in probably like a couple years, but a lot of the time, oh, you know what? A lot of the time I will make like my own checklist if it's something that's really big. But for something like this guy, just reading through the GDD, I think is pretty clear. Um, and I think I kind of use the state machine as a checklist also. Um, like going through the different states to implement them also kind of acts as a checklist because they're all kind of labeled in a way that reflects like the different behaviors that I know he has to have. Um, I'm not usually working from a checklist though, although that could be useful to have. Okay, there we go. That's much better. Yeah, so the problem was he just wasn't doing it during walk. Okay. Okay, so what he's doing now, if we added, so this circle represents his aggro range. So if this is just like a question that he's asking pretty much every frame of whether or not the player is within that circle. It's a little thin. Sorry, it's a little hard to see. And so we've added some code that says if I step into the circle, he's going to do a different behavior. So this is going to be the run behavior. And right now it does nothing. So we're going to make it do something. So, oops. So we're going to say, we're going to have this guy run towards, and like in the direction of the player. I'm going to add this stuff that says, like if we run into a pit or a wall, well, I can edit that in a second. I'm going to make a variable about run speed. Actually, I think I don't want him to run that fast, but just for now. Okay, so we're gonna have him run at this speed, and then once we pass 1 second, he's gonna do a dive. We might like tweak this a little bit, but this is just to kind of get us started. Oh, and you know what else I need to do is I need to play the... Oops. Oh no, I wasn't paying attention. No, stop. Need to play the run anim. So we need to play the run anim, and he needs to run in the direction of the player. Yeah, he starts walking toward the player quickly, and then he slide tackles in the player's direction. So we're going to play this run animation. We've saved the direction that this function is telling us what direction the player is in. So we've saved it so that we can run in this direction down here. And then we also need to set the facing direction so that the animation plays. We need to set the facing direction so that when he runs, the animation looks like it's facing the right way. Whoa, that's way too fast. That's way too fast. Okay, that's too much. How rude. Okay, well, evidently run speed of 10, too much. Let's make it like 6, and let's make this like a 3. All right, let's try again. That's pretty good. So he runs for about a second, and then right now he's like, right now he's in his dive state, but we haven't told it to do anything. So let's make a dive. So we've seen down here, he's gonna run, and then when he hits this point, about a second, he's gonna dive. So let's go back up to dive. He's still gonna be moving in this direction, but we're gonna give him some like vertical motion. So we're gonna give him like just a boost of, motion in the Z direction. I know it's like a top-down 2D game, so like where's the Z? But there is a Z. Oops, I misspelled case. And code really cares if you spell stuff right. I'll talk about this in just a second. Sometimes I get this little complaint from Visual Studio. It doesn't know what certain functions or variables mean, and that means that these things are like defined in other files somewhere else. So I edit this file on the left to tell the minion file like where everything lives. The minion doesn't have to store any information about any of the physics stuff or like the combat stuff. All of that information lives in these files and the way that we've organized them. So now that I've included this file, it like knows how much a frame is. It's like that angry line has disappeared. Okay, so after we're running, we're gonna switch to the dive state, which says that we're gonna, here, if we look at Sandy's mockup, he's gonna run and then he's gonna do this little hop. And when he does that hop, we have to make him move upwards. Like right now at this point in the anim, at this point like in the behavior, he's touching the ground, and then during the hop, he's got to go, I mean, during the dive, he has to like kind of come up off the ground before kind of smoothly falling back down. So we're gonna add this like boost in Z, meaning like an upwards direction. And then once he's colliding with the ground again, we're trusting that when he boosts off the ground, we're going to give him enough velocity upwards so that he lifts up off the ground. And then when he collides back with the ground, we're going to switch to the slide state. We also need him to keep moving in the same direction. So the same direction that we saved when he was running, we're going to have him dive in that direction at about the same speed right now, and we can kind of keep refining this. But let's see how it looks. Okay, so here's the circle. He doesn't care about Mina. He doesn't know anything about Mina. And then if I come into the circle, he's going to run at me. And that was his dive. That was terrible. Okay, wait. Here you go. We're like stepping through in slow motion real quick. And he's going to do the dive after about 1 second. There it is. There it is. There was the hop. That was great. That's a terrible hop. Okay, so we know, okay, one thing is like because I'm on stream and I'm a little bit tired, I forgot to play the dive animation. That's important. It's this guy, so he's got to look like he's diving when he's diving. We're not going to set the facing direction. We're still going in the same direction. That's fine. But that hop was like pretty pathetic. That hop sucked. It was like too short. Bad hop. Here he comes. Boop. Yeah, it's okay. But we could make that like a little bit more exaggerated so you can better tell that it happened. So let's see. That's a little bit better. Okay. Let's see it at full speed. Boop. All right, that's better. That's much more noticeable and I think closer to the mock-up. I'm not looking at Discord, but never mind. Okay, so here now we're gonna go into this slide. So when we've collided back with the ground, we're gonna go into that slide, which is this part. So he's playing like a different animation and he's gonna come to a stop. Oops. So now, oops. So now he's gonna slide. Oops, I haven't put it down here yet. We're gonna add it down here. Oh, in case it wasn't obvious too, the way that we've split up our state machine is into these kind of two separate steps. Init state is like things we're gonna do the first time that we like start a state. So like the first time that we start the idle state, we're gonna play the idle anim. We're gonna like decide how much time to idle for, or like when we run, the first time that we run, we're gonna play the animation once at the beginning. We're gonna figure out what direction the player is, and then the majority of frames are going to be spent down here in update state. We're like, okay, now that we know we're in the idle state, what should we be doing every frame? We should be like checking if the player is within range so we can run toward them, or if the player's not in range yet, we could just kind of walk around. So that's the difference between like the two functions that I've been editing. Okay, state machine intermission over. So back to slide. So we're playing the slide anim. We're still gonna move, we're gonna refine this a little bit, but we're just gonna have him, keep moving in that direction. Let's just do it for like another second. Who cares? Just to kind of see what it looks like. And I know from the mock-up that Sandy made is like when he's done sliding, he's gonna go into this anim, which is recover, where he's kind of standing back up. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, sorry, it's called dive recover. So he's kind of standing back up. His little expression makes me so sad too. Look at him, he's like sad. Sandy, you can answer for why he's so sad in Discord. He makes me frown.
I'm gonna make Sandy answer for his crimes. But I also
Yeah, why
don't
is he
think
gotta be so sad?
I don't think anybody in this world of this game is really happy, right?
I disagree. Oh, come on. There's got to be at least one person who's like, who's having a good time.
I think
Fingers
there's plenty of
crossed.
happy people in here.
Yeah, come on,
You know,
Michael.
even though the world of the
Yeah.
game is a little crazy and, you know, just like our
Hey.
real world, that's still, you know, still gotta put on a brave face in
True
the
that.
tenebrous aisle.
You're right.
True that.
You're right.
Okay, so when we're over here in the recover state, what we're gonna do, oops. Come on, man. So we're just gonna play this animation once when we, in these functions where we like animation, tell it to play. This is the anim. All of these we've been playing like in a loop. This one, we're just gonna play it once. And when it's done is when we're gonna stand up. Because like the other animations that we're playing, we don't know how long we're gonna play them for. Like, we don't know how long we're gonna need this dive frame for. Like, the dive should last for the duration of the dive, or like the run we're gonna play like as long as we're running. But recover, this like recover frame, we know we just want to play it pretty much once. Or like maybe a couple times depending on how long it is, and then he's going to stand up. So we know that when the animation is done, we're going to go back to idle. Short-term memory, very short. So, okay, let's look at it again. Okay, so here he is. This big circle is a range of like he's looking for the player, and if I come in, okay, that's not bad. We're gonna have to kind of refine it, but like those are pretty much like if we wanted to ship it, all done. It did all the things pretty much that were listed, but like that could be better. Like just because it, just because it meets a lot of those checkboxes doesn't mean like there aren't actually like 30 more checkboxes. There's like 30 more checkboxes. Okay, hold on. Here he comes. He's doing his little run. Hop, slide. There's like a bunch more detail to add. There's like a bunch more that we can refine it. He slides for too long. That recovered's too long. Okay. And what's cool about it too is like, cause we just went right back to idle, and he like doesn't really remember where Mina was, which is also part of the goal. We had said earlier, he loses aggro after like a shorter duration. We could probably make him, like run after the player if we want, but like, yeah, he kind of forgot about Mina. I feel like for now, for sake of stream, this is fine. This is great. I feel like that lady on TikTok making dinner. It's fine. It's completely fine. So, oops, now. Okay, so there's a bunch of things about it that we can refine. Okay, so right now that dive goes like a little bit too far. Oh no, oh, he really came after me. Let's see. So I'm gonna look back at my GDD real quick. So there's a couple aspects of the slide that we are missing. Actually, well, let's see, the aggro range is small. It's about 4 tiles. So I'm just gonna keep kind of refining it. So based on the GDD, he's got this aggro range. It should really be 4 tiles, and I think right now it's 5. So let's make that 4 tiles. This is part of like every enemy, if we want it, like every enemy has some like basic stuff set up to know like how much to aggro. So we're just telling it to do 4 tiles. So we're going to kind of shrink that radius, that circle in which it's looking for the player. And then I think this like speed is all right. For stream, it's probably fine. So we're not doing these 2 things. It's not decelerating to a stop, and it's not stopping at pits or walls. Like if we go back, Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have my entire desktop. I forgot I have my entire desktop also over here. This is what I was talking about was we're missing a couple segments, right? We're not decelerating to a stop. We're not stopping at pits or walls. It's going a little bit too far. So these are some ways that we can like refine the behavior to make it feel more polished and more true to the GDD and what design is thinking about. So let's see. First, I'm gonna add an ease. We could talk about that in a sec. I don't know if I have to do this. But I'm gonna switch back to my zoom in view. And I always forget which eases are which, so I'm gonna look on Google really quick at my ease cheat sheet because I always need it. Let's see. We could talk about easing in a second once I get my bearings here. I always forget which one of these I want. Okay, so what we've said is we're going to make a thing called an ease, which basically all it does is it gives us values on a curve. So like as we update it, it's going to give us a 0 and then a 0.1 and then a 0.2. Here, let me pull up my cheat sheet. So like I like having this cheat sheet. So basically what it's doing is it's going to give us over time it's going to give us values that increase or like according to like a certain rate of change. So what it's going to do is over time it's going to basically progress from 0 to 1, and we can use that to change all kinds of things like our speed. So as we're moving, what's going to happen is this value on a curve is going to go up from 0 to 1. And so what we're doing is we're going to say, as we're sliding after about 1 second, we're going to start to slow down. So like if this value were 0, we're gonna be moving this direction at this speed 100%. But as soon as this value hits 1 and this value hits 0, we're gonna move 0%. So I actually want to say, oops. So before what we were doing was we were just like moving, as fast as we want for like all of 1 second. Who cares? But now I think what I want to do is when we've eased to a stop, is there an is done? Yes, there is. Let's try this and see what it looks like. Oh, that was pretty good, although it takes a while. that dive is still way too long. It's like he's sledding. It's too long. Okay, so if we watch it, you can see how like he kind of eases to a stop. So before, at like before he just he went full speed the whole time and then stopped abruptly. But now what he's doing is he's like slowly decelerating after about a second. So that's way better. That's what's written in the GDD, and that's also probably just a nicer behavior overall. I think it's taking him too long to come to a stop, so I'm gonna decrease how long. Oops, I'm gonna kind of speed up. I'm gonna speed up how quickly he slows down, if that makes sense.
Hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
I have a coding question from the chat. Now's a good
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
This one says, do you prefer the modern C++ style or the C with classes one?
Um,
And
I
that's from Leptopia.
I don't think I have a preference. I think I probably prefer C++. But also, I think working in this project, like knowing C++ is important. All the syntax is still C++. But so much of what I do from day to day is like working in like a ton of base classes and making more classes that still feel kind of, it feels like slightly different. It doesn't feel like I'm writing C++. It feels like I'm writing Mina code C++ because I'm like so much of it is working with classes that are just a part of the code base. But I guess to answer the question, I don't think I have a preference. Let's see. I think we're still sliding too far and for too long. Oops. You know what I like to do, actually, if I switch to my entire desktop? I have like a little trick. I have a trick where, so like in order to measure distance, we usually measure distance in terms of tiles. I could change this. That's a little bit better. Sorry, with my resolution on my desktop, it's like a little bit awkward. But like basically, the world is divided up into this grid of squares, and we think of distance in the game in terms of squares. So what I like to do to measure stuff is to draw a grid of squares. Hooray! And like this helps me understand how far something is when I'm working on it. Boop, boop, boop. And it helps if you make sound effects while you're doing it. Boop, boop. Boop. Okay, that's boop. Okay, that's better. Just for a second, this will help me understand. Oh, I had put cult a summoner over here earlier. He doesn't do anything. Oops, I don't actually want you. Okay, let's go back to programming time. All right, so now we have a version down here where like we can actually see the distance of what's going on. So I'm gonna make a quick edit actually to my gym. And this file over here, this is my gym. This is where like it's called Gym Bridget, and it's not like a real level for the game. It just owns whatever kind of stuff I want to put in it to help me test anything I need to test. So that's what's in here. And I'm gonna. Well, that doesn't really help me. That's actually pretty good. Oh no, you fell in that pit. We gotta work on that. Here, do it again. Oops. You know what? Just gotta look at the GDD real quick. Yeah, so I think the slide. So I'm trying to see when he does that dive and slide about how far it goes. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Not quite far enough. So we can add a little bit more. We made that a bit further. If I wanted to, I could also probably do it based on distance. Right now, it's just kind of eyeballed, like based on speed and time. I think for stream, this is probably fine right now. We're just kind of getting him mobile. Let's see. So let's just boost that like a little bit. If I want it really exact, I might change it to distance later. So he's like keeping track better of how far his dive has been. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, about a half. All right, that's pretty good. That run is so fast. Does he have like an aggro frame to play? I guess he doesn't really. That's one thing that's happening is there's not really like an antic. There's no anim that he plays to like indicate that he's gone from idle or walk into run. He just kind of goes for it. So potentially we could use some kind of antic. Sandy, wherever you are, if you have a vote about some kind of antic, I'm spying on the Discord, but we could probably add that at some point today. Let's see. There's one other thing over here. Oh yeah, so the other part of the GDD that we're missing. So right now, yeah, so we've added him decelerating. Goes kind of far, about 4.5 tiles. He like loses aggro, but he's not stopping at pits or walls. Like if we go back over here, if we go into our other test room with him, he doesn't know anything about pits or walls. He's just kind of silly. So we got to tell him not to do that when he's running and diving. And this is also, okay. I might at some point write a function for this, but for now we're just gonna see what we want to do, and then we can. Oops, what happened? Oh. We're gonna like copy paste some of this stuff around right now as we're like figuring out what we want to do, and then in a little bit we can clean it up and like make a function out of it if we would like to. Let's use. Let's try that. Let's see if that helps. One other thing. I actually think this isn't going to work because, oops. That's actually pretty good. That's actually not bad. I think what I would like better here is this. Really, I guess with slide it's okay, but with dive, I'm being like extra specific that when he dives, when he's checking for pits, he's checking his position on the ground. All right, that's an improvement. So he's not going to jump into the pit anymore. Oops. Oh, okay. Well, Mina can jump into the pit. Oops. That's not the smartest behavior, but I don't know how smart he's supposed to be. Yeah. So yeah, at minimum, he doesn't go into the pit anymore. We could probably refine it some more. Who fell into someone else fell in? Did someone else fall in a pit? I don't know what that sound was. I don't know who that would have been.
You mean like just now, or?
I heard,
I mean,
I heard like a sound effect of somebody else falling into a pit. I don't know what that was.
oh.
One other thing that we can do. Oh man, this went by so quickly. I might put these in a function. Oh, you know, I can think of a couple other things actually that we have to do.
Bridget, how much time would you say you've spent decoding enemies falling into pits?
At least 1% of my time.
Okay, that little.
That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot. It's like the kind of 1% that's like, whoa. Like if you said like 1% of the population, you'd be like, oh wow, that's like so many people.
That's true.
I mean, it's not necessarily like important for all the enemies. Like some of the enemies we don't really care. Like, you know, if here, like if you have an enemy like, let's put like Gooper in my gym. If we have an enemy like Gooper, we don't care if Gooper jumps into a pit. He's like not that smart. No offense to Gooper. I'm sorry, Gooper. I didn't mean it. But like if we're talking behind Gooper's back, oops, what did I do? Oh, oops. I have an extra word in my file. Let's try again. Yeah, like Gooper's not that smart. So if we like, you know, if we bother Gooper and we're gonna fly cheat over here and like kind of bait him into the pit, like we don't care. Gooper can just jump in the pit. Like who cares? But I think as enemies get smarter, we start to care more. And I guess as much as, yeah, it seems like this guy's kind of on the threshold of being a bit more smart. So
Seem to remember too with like enemies like the water bear, we spent a lot of time resolving their intended behavior around pits.
yeah, some enemies, or like Puffer too. There was a period of time where we were talking about like the Puffer enemy. That's an enemy that where if you hit it, it explodes into like a big balloon. And we were talking about like, well, if you hit it towards the pit, should it like automatically fall into the pit? Kind of as it's like floating towards you. So like some enemies also get kind of special thought too. I feel like all of them get some amount of like kind of case by case stuff. But this is kind of like the bare minimum of, you know, well, there's no point in putting pits in a level if all the enemies are just going to run into them. That's not really what they're for. Unless those enemies are just that dumb. Let's see. Sorry, I just wanted to, so like right now we have a bunch of code that's like all doing the same thing. It all looks the same. And that's kind of ugly. So I think I'd like to make, I think I want to put it in a helper function. We're just gonna make like a new function over here. So we're gonna make it, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take like all these points where we're doing like the exact same thing, and we're just gonna, that looks a lot nicer. And it looks like it already has all the information that we wanted, which is great. We should probably double check whether or not they're all truly the same. Yeah, that looks the same. And if I'm wrong, I will find out because it will break. That looks pretty much the same. This one's like a little different. We're going at like a different speed and we're doing something slightly different. We're setting the move direction. I'm just gonna leave this one for now because it's like a little bit more unique. But the other ones we've put in a function that like more clearly says in like a descriptive way what it is that it's trying to check for. Let's see. I think also looking at it one more time. Yeah, that recover is taking a bit too long, so I'm gonna, wrong one. I'm gonna go back to cutter, and I think I would have Sandy's blessing that like this animation when he gets to this point feels like it's taking a little bit too long. So I mean I can always be overridden, but I'm just gonna change how long. So this little bit down here says like how long it should play this animation for. So I'm just gonna change it so it's like a little bit faster. Right now we had a 60 here, and a 60 means like 60 frames. That's like a full second. But like that's too long. So, and even then, that's like a little long. Let's try 30. And then what we also need to do, oh, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to build assets. So we also need to, anytime that we make a change to this file, once we save it, we need to build assets so that the game knows something changed and it reflects in the game. That's a little bit better. Yeah, he doesn't need to spend as much time in recovery. We're recovered. I don't know. I feel like the dive might be like a little bit. I still don't love it. There's aspects of this that I don't love. I also feel like I also don't like that when he hits something like a wall. No, Gooper, no, I forgot the Gooper was here. Oops. Get out of here, Gooper. Okay, now he's gone. I don't love. Let's get his attention. I don't love that, like, even if he runs into a pit, he he like spends too long looking like he's doing nothing. So I might make it so that if he runs into a pit during the slide, I might make it so that what do I want to do here? If there were like a nice way for him to kind of get out of that slide a little bit early, that might be nice. So like if if we've been sliding for like at least a second. Oops. We don't need to keep sliding. We could stop a little early. I think that's fair. And if somebody oops, if someone disagrees, that's fine. I think this is just kind of my preference at the moment. I don't think he needs to like stay, down that entire time. If anything, I might not even have him do the full slide. It's like not really doing anything. Sean, do you have a vote? Are you sitting here? I'm starting to get in the weeds, and I feel like potentially there's weeds for days. So we might. Oh no! Oh, he jumped. It seems like we had a problem with check collision. Can't be doing that. Let's double check its XY. Another thing that's it's not written in the GDD, but it is in Sandy's mockup, is when he is running and he does this slide, it's playing this this animation that's like kicking up. Here, let's zoom in. Sorry, that's kicking up these like dust particles. So that's another detail that we can add. Let's go back to programming stream view. And I know somewhere out there is a helper that will already draw those dust particles because we use them in a bunch of places. Sandy might have written a note about which dust that is. We have a couple different particles like that, like dust, and sometimes I forget which one is which. I didn't mean for that to sound like a Christmas Carol jingle. It just did. Let's see. I don't know if there's... Sandy, you're lurking. Do you know which anim that is? Well, it's an anim effect util. This is like a whole big file full of... like anytime that we need to play an effect, kind of like this dust, we'll add it into this file to be able to reuse it. Ah, Sandy says it is haste dust. I don't know if that's the name of the file. Well, there's also dash dust. Is this the same? Aha, it is. Okay, great. So it is called actually haste dust. And actually, if we open another version of Cutter, I'm going to open this in another window real quick. Engine effects, haste dust. Thank you, Sandy. Is it effects? It is effects. Where does it live? Boop. Oh my god, I gotta zoom in so much. Okay. Okay, so we've opened it over here. So this is like that little particle that was from the mockup. Oops. So this is a particle that like already exists. Sandy didn't. Sandy made it at some point long ago, and we can reuse it because it's there's a couple places where we use it. And here it is. Whee. That's all it does. So we've already written a helper here that's used probably in a handful of places because we know that we like to use this anim effect. So what I'm gonna do, oops, sorry, I keep clicking the wrong thing. So what I'm gonna do is during this slide, play it like every few frames. Not during the jump, but just during the slide when it connects. So we're gonna add like another bit. We're just gonna put it up here. So we have a way of asking the state machine a question about time. Here, let's see. So what we're saying is like every 20 frames, we're gonna draw this little dash dust, which lives. These guys, we're gonna draw them. Let's see. And if I peek over here, I gotta remember. Okay, so we're gonna draw it at our position. Oh, and there's something about the direction. Sure. I don't. Let's see. Well, normally it's facing. Normally it's facing to the left, like by default. Or sorry. Well, like this is its version when it's facing to the right, and the dash poofs up to the left. So we're saying if we're actually going to the left, we're gonna make it flip. Okay, so this is like our normal. Okay, so we're just giving it information about like if we're diving to the left or to the right, we're just gonna like we would have to tell this thing like to flip direction. So that's just what we're doing over here. Let's go back to zoomed in, and I don't think we need an ISO offset. We have this variable over here is asking just a question about like sorting. We just have like there's so many animations that we're playing in the game in a lot of rooms, and because our game is top-down 2D, we've got like a lot of code set up to make sure that things render and draw in the right order. Okay, let's see. Ooh, okay. Okay, so hold on, come back, sir. Come back. Come back. I need your attention. Okay, so you can kind of see. So we've said like every 20 frames, yeah, every 20 frames we're going to call this function, which makes that animation, which like makes just for now, it's going to make an anim. It's going to like spawn a little poof of dust, and then when it's done, it's just going to disappear. So it just exists just for the duration of the animation. And you can kind of tell, it's hard to tell because we have to move it. It's basically, so right now, the position of the enemy is basically like at about its center. And right now we're like drawing this anim right on its center. And so you really can't see it because we've just kind of drawn it in the wrong place. But it is drawing. Yeah, you can kind of see it when he does like different directions. Anyway, so we just have to tell, we have to do like a little bit of work to make it so that it draws in the right place. So I'm going to switch to my entire desktop, trademark. And I'm sorry, there's not a way to make this window bigger, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to add a point to our cutter file. Let's see. So it's a little bit hard to tell. It's like a little bit zoomed out, but I'm adding a point to the cutter file. It lives over here. Here's the point. You can kind of see it a little bit better when I move it. So we're gonna add a point. Oh, sorry, that's dive. I don't want dive. I want during slide. Where is slide? Okay. So when we're sliding, we're going to tell this anim. We just have the ability to like add different properties to anims. Like for example, if I if I enable like these little, it's kind of, oh man, sorry about the resolution. It's kind of hard to see. But if we enable, oh wait a minute. No, never mind. There's no way for me to fix that in OBS. Basically, we can add stuff like rectangles for like defense and attack collision, but I can also add this little point. So anyway, I'm going to add this point, and we'll see what it does in a second. Okay, so I've added a point for each slide. So for the slide, when we're going to the right, I want us to be able to draw the dust on the left-hand side. When we're sliding down, I want the dust to be at the top. When we're sliding up, I want the dust to like be down here. So if we build assets, woo, so we've updated this cutter file, we've built assets, and now we know that there's been a change to the cutter file. So now if we switch to just the code view, what we can do is here, hold on. I'll explain in just a second. I'm just checking my cutter file. Let's see. Okay. I'm just gonna run this and see what it looks like, and then I think that should have worked. Oops. All right, that's a little bit better. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so what we've done is we've said over here, we've said this anim, this like the thing that says anim, this represents like it's just a thing that knows all the different frames that we have, and like all the different animation frames that we have, and it knows which one that we're playing at any given time, and it knows about these cool points that we added. So we're saying we added a point called dust onto a bunch of those frames, right? For like each of the slide frames, we added this point. And so we're saying I'm going to get like, the place where we want to draw that little dust piece, that little dust anim is, we want it to draw at the position of the enemy plus like any offset that the animation has, plus like more specifically this position where we said the dust should be. Anyway, so I might be getting too into the weeds, but now when he, come on, sir. Oh, I guess I don't know the minions pronouns. I guess I should. I don't know if there's like a they them for sir, but anyway. So there he's doing the slide. Go back. Okay, so now when the dust draws, it's drawing at that point where we had added it before. And it might not be, I think it's not quite often enough. Really what I'm trying to do is just interpret, I'm just trying to like make it match to Sandy's mock-up as best as I can. It seems like when he first lands, there's definitely like some dust that kicks up, and then kind of more progressively, and like as he slows down. Sandy, you're welcome to badger me if you want it more often. But I think it would make sense here. We're gonna add another helper. Just to make it more flexible, if I want to like draw dust in a couple more places, I'm adding a helper. So, oops, what view am I on? Oh, good, I'm zoomed in. So I'm gonna take this chunk and just put it over here so that it's a bit easier if I want to spawn dust. Oops. Without me copy pasting like all of these lines over and over again. And it just kind of makes it a little bit cleaner because now it's slight. I mean, if you're skimming it, it's like pretty obvious if you're looking at code all the time what it's doing, but now it's like 10% more obvious. So cool. Okay, so that's like the cool little dust part. I might make this like slightly more often, and I might, oops. I don't love, oh, Sandy says that it should be applied in the same way as is used when an enemy gets bashed by the drive buckler side arm, which is very specific. Okay. But that's helpful. When I'm like, I have like a debug cheat on that lets me cycle through Mina's different sidearms. So like, here's the axe sidearm, here's the knife sidearm, here's the portal sidearm, here's the charge lantern sidearm, and here's the buckler driver. This is a... Wait, Sandy, are you saying the enemy, or are you saying the like Mina's use of haste dust? So like okay, so Sandy has given me an example, which is when, oops, get out of here, sir. One of the properties of this sidearm is like when I use it against an enemy, they get pushed backwards, and when they do get pushed backwards, it draws like the same kind of dust like that. Okay, cool. And so that's just like an example of how often we should be using it for Orgai too. So I gotta think about this. Every 2 frames. Okay. So here. Boop. So what's happening is that, oh, you can't quite see. There we go. What's happening is this is in the enemy file, and so I've set a breakpoint so that when we hit this point in the file, it like totally stops. So Sandy has advised me that so this is like when I've hit the enemy with that sidearm, and it's starting to get pushed to the left. This is the spot in code where it's saying, let's draw that dust anim over and over again. And so Sandy has advised that it should be drawing the dust in basically the same way, I think at the same rate. Is it really every other frame? It basically, I can't tell. Let's see. Okay, so okay. I get out of here. Oops. Oh, that would be kind of cool. That's another thing we haven't quite talked about that, but potentially what would be cool is if you could jump over the minion as it's sliding towards you. I don't think that's something that's actually written. But like based on, I feel like that would be cool. Stop. Is it written down here? Hold on, I'm just looking at the GDD. We might add that as a checkbox if we have time. Anyway, so I was just trying to step through to understand like how often this was happening. Meter timer. Back. This guy has a mind of his own. Okay, this guy starts out at half a second. This guy. Michael and Sean, you guys have been muted. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just keeping an eye on chat and going through some of our applicants for
our yeah, that's right. We posted a job and got a lot of people we got to look at now.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like what's happening is it's playing this dust anim pretty much every other frame until we hit a point. Oh, wow. That's kind of weird. Yeah, so we're doing it every other frame until like we start to ease to a stop, and then we don't really do it anymore. So that tells me that it should be every other frame. That's fast. What were we saying? Every other frame until we start to ease to a stop. Let's get time due. It's really more about end. Oh, that's always going to be true. Why don't we just say let's go back. I'm going to do it in the init state too, just cause. That's too often. Oh, is that really how often it goes? I might be misunderstanding this. That's a lot. Well, I'm also not drawing it in the right place. I'm just gonna steal this for a second. So this is the
Stream's
way.
asking, what's your favorite and least favorite parts of coding enemies?
I mean, making something from brand new is always the most fun. It becomes more challenging, like when we start to put an enemy into real setups, and then like sometimes they run into issues, like yeah, like it can't run into pits, or like what starts to happen when we like start to combine enemies with each other, or uh, tweaking enemy difficulty can also be really hard. Like if an enemy, sometimes an enemy can be fun to fight one-on-one, but in a group just become too overwhelming. We've had a couple like that, where like if you have more than one of a type of an enemy in a room, it's like way too difficult to fight them. So like making tweaks to enemy behavior to um to what's the word I'm looking for? To preserve as much as possible the fun part, and also editing it in a way that removes the parts that aren't fun. That is hard. that's that's like some of my like least favorite, is like when I feel like an enemy is working really well, but it turns out that if you put more than one of them in a room, they just like they're too difficult. So it's, yeah, I guess that's my answer. Is like
Right.
make it, it's easy to make it difficult. Uh it's like much harder to make it challenging but fair.
Right.
And
Balanced.
yes, that's the, like, and sometimes that can be fun, but like when that kind of goes back and forth like too many times, that could be challenging. But we really haven't had too many enemies that are like that. I think like the virus enemy was kind of like that. The puffer was kind of like that. I think we haven't had that issue as much. It's not too common. What was I doing? Okay. So instead of using this,
Yeah, I think that's well put. The fun part is getting to put it together
yeah,
from whole cloth, and the not fun part is dealing with the consequences of your actions.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
I guess it's very similar to the design part of making a game, or like any part of development, really. The fun part is like doing the brainstorming and then like getting the initial like rush of excitement out of the gate and getting that first implementation. And then the part that sucks is it's like, okay, well, in this situation and in this situation, it doesn't work. And like, how are we going to solve it? And we got to figure it out. It doesn't add up. It's not adding up. What are we going to do?
Well, that's the wrong place. Yeah, making.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michael.
I was gonna say we're kind of on 5 minutes till 2. You can run longer if you want to finish up parts of the anime you're working on. Or if you want to start wrapping it up and figure out one last thing to implement, that's fine
Okay.
as well. But
Yeah,
again,
I can think of one last thing to do, and then I think we can be all done. Thanks for the heads up. Oh, this is so weird. Oh, okay. It's not every 2 frames. It's like every bunch of frames. Oh. Yeah, I skimmed over this too quickly to like really understand what it was doing. Although it really seems like every 2 frames. Anyway. Oops. Just to keep it simple on stream, I'm just going to make it every 4 frames. But I've got Sandy's note about how often it should go, so I'm just trying to match it. That's a little bit too often. Let's make it 5. I feel like it could be. We're out of time. That's okay. Okay, I think the last thing I'll do is, if I can, make it so that you can jump over him, but we might run out of time during the dive.
Do you not jump over him by default?
No. It's not. It's also not in the GDD. This is like in my brain. I feel like we should do this. Dir seems wrong. I think this version works a little bit better. Because the other one is like too centered, and I need this to be like on the edge. Yeah, that's a little bit better. We come down. Come up. Come up. There he goes. I'm gonna keep this here for a second if I want it later. I'm gonna open in a new window. Oops. I just have another file open real quick, and so just a second. I'll cut back to what I'm up to. Okay, so okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it so that when he slides, oh my god, I haven't even included combat core. What? How did I make it this long without including combat core? Okay. And then in our exit, we're gonna add our exit state. Okay, let's try this to see if, oh, what are you doing? What did I do? What happened? Sean, you got any cool holiday plans?
Kitty and I are gonna go up to San Francisco for the weekend.
Cool.
To chill. So that should be fun.
Sorry,
And
so
I think that maybe New Year's, maybe some raving on New Year's Eve.
cool.
How about you?
Oh, just being silly, just giving my family silly gifts.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to sort out in like another file how to get. What did I do? Is this? Oh, oh, it's ground. Oh, okay. Combat height strikes again. Okay, let's try again. Sorry, I misspelled something in another place. Dive. Yay! Cool.
Wahoo.
Woohoo! Come get me, stupid. Woo! Okay, so what we did was over in slide, I added like another, we've got this like huge file of all the information having to do with like combat stuff. And basically I added, what's it called? Yeah, basically we just told it that, like, you know, when we do the slide, do the version of the slide that only affects Mina when she's standing on the ground. And then when we're done with the slide, no matter what, we're just going to go back to contact damage. So come here, you. Oop. Oops. And I might even make it so that when he's done sliding, well, no, that's probably fine. Oop. All right. It's kind of fun that he goes like a little bit faster than my run speed. I have to like, but not faster than burrow speed. All right, there we go. I think this probably fulfills everything that we needed to do on stream within like a 2-hour time slot. There's probably like more polish that we could do, but at least like this is like a decent start as to like what this guy's behavior is gonna do. And we even added like a cool little option that says, you know, if oops, wrong way. If he like lunges toward me, I added this option that says, well, I feel like that should only affect Mina at low combat. We've been doing, you know, Eli and David have been doing a lot of work to make like this combat height stuff work, so we're taking advantage. The only other thing, let's see, the last thing I added like the last second yesterday. I added this at the last second at like, yeah, I added this like tether thing at the last second. Wait, I don't want this, the platform. Get out of here, platform. Why don't we just, if we switch to my entire desktop, I'm just gonna put another guy in here. So if we remember, another part of the GDD was that these guys should have this like electric tether between them. So here's that. Like if we remember, it's like an electric line that connects them all to each other. And yesterday at like 9 p.m. I was like, what if we get through like stream too fast and like, you know, we gotta do the tether. I feel like tether would be too much to do on stream, so I just like made it. So here's that. Here's the tether. So we can kind of see. Oh, oops, they made too many. But so the idea is like, you know, these guys' behavior isn't that complicated, but they're gonna have this like electric tether that's connecting them. The tether's not perfect. It's just kind of like a first pass at a big line made of pieces of electric stuff. Come back down here, guys. So yeah, eventually, when we have more of these guys, they're gonna make more tethers. I have no idea what would happen if we like added another one. I don't know if this is gonna work at all. Let's see if it breaks. Oh my god, it works! Oh my god. That's great. Nice. Yeah, it just works. Wait, how many more? How many more? Oh no, it's too many. Oh, this is crazy. Okay, well, eventually we're just, you know, this will all work and be great. For now, it's like complete chaos. But I enjoy this part too. So this is like our dessert today that I just threw together at the last minute yesterday, like just in case.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like a first draft, and I don't think it's gonna be this much, but like this is the right direction.
How fun.
Ta-da! So I think this is probably a good stopping point. It's about 2 p.m. If anybody has any last questions that they want to post, I can answer questions. I'm sure you guys have been just kind of chatting, hanging out. How will Mina escape this tetrahedron? Asks Shadowhog. Great question. You know, you'll have to tune into the next episode.
By the game when it comes out.
Yeah, yeah. That's a That's a better
That's how
answer.
they find out.
Yes. Anyway, so that's kind of the direction that it's going. From here, normally, I'd probably like refine it a little bit more. Maybe make that like that slide feel a little bit better, and make sure that like the dust feels, perfect. And then from there, there's like a whole bunch of other functionality that's gonna go in. Like eventually there has to be like, there's code in here about, or like there's notes in here about like, oh, well, eventually these guys could like, we could have a version that like spawns from tubes, or we could have a version of a minion that gets spawned by this like, this like summoner guy who's awesome, by the way. Look at this great mock-up Sandy made of his like weird head. He's like so weird. So like eventually, there's like more stuff that we got to do for the minion, but for now, this is like a good first draft for stream. Here they are like bursting out of that big tube. So thanks for tuning in. I know if Celia were here, she would want me to say to check out our Twitter, check out, we do streams sometime on Twitch. I don't know. Thanks so much for being here, and happy holidays and happy new year. All done. That's a wrap, folks. Anything else, you guys?
I think you
Woohoo.
covered it all.
Thank you, Bridget. That was awesome and
Woohoo.
informative and fun to watch as well.
Woohoo! All
This
right,
is
cool.
all getting ready for the astral orrery.
All right, awesome. Then I think that's a wrap. Thanks so much, you guys, and I'll see everybody next year. Wow.
Whoa.
We did it.
We
Bye,
did it.
everybody.
All right, bye.
Yeah. Bye.